Hello, everyone. I'm Bob,
And I'm Archie.
and it's time for another Bob and Archie Talk Life in High Tech. Oh, would you like a little more wine with that? Good. Okay, today's topic is actually um, quite serious. We find ourselves in early 2024, and even though America has the number one economy in the world, the high tech world is suffering through layoffs. A number of people, including myself, has just been laid off. Even though I'm a freelance contractor, I ended up losing both my clients. So I'm completely unemployed. And this is not no, for anybody who's looking for a freelance writer, just, give me a call. But, but seriously, a number of people have gone, um, and it is not a fun time. A lot of people are worried and concerned. And also,
Are most of the people that you're hearing that are getting laid off, are they older or is it all over
no,
the
it's
place?
across the board.
It is. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so it's not just older people, and I'm finding that it's not just startups either. Well, both my clients were startups,
Okay.
so they are more vulnerable, to other companies not investing in their products. But I find that larger corporations are having some layoffs too. I don't understand the reason, um, but we are going through a problem. One CEO that I know actually posted on LinkedIn that this is the worst he's seen since 2002. So it's like I said, it's a hard time, and I'm sure a number of people who might be listening might be experiencing the same thing we're doing. So we're going to look at it at two angles. We're going to look at the layoff part, and for people who are still looking for work, and then we're going to look at I can't find a job. I'm old enough, and I'm going to retire. And we happen to have someone who is in that position too.
Yes, because I was laid off, and I guess my official layoff date was April. I think it was April 1st or March 1st.
Yes, but you had a package.
Yeah, they gave me a 3-month package, so I was paid through June, but but I was laid off as well. I mean, that wasn't voluntary.
No, and as far as looking for a job, I know that you did at first.
And then I just decided, well, I mean, I'm sure you're going to start hearing a lot of, well, I've already started reading articles about people who are struggling to find work. And I was struggling as well, but I also, my heart wasn't in it. I really wasn't interested in, because I only wanted to work another year anyway. So it was kind of, I might as well just go ahead and retire.
Right, so you made a personal decision to do it.
Yeah.
But you had to think about the finances and retirement and how you could afford retirement.
Exactly.
Did you want to go into that a little bit?
Sure. I mean, okay, so I'm one of these people who I enjoyed my life.
It's still going.
Yeah, it's still going. That's right. And so I didn't save as much as I probably should have. I have some money, but I didn't save a ton of money. I know a lot of people who are like rolling in it. That was never a goal of mine.
I know a lot of people who are not rolling in it too.
So what I had to do is figure out, okay, so now that I'm at the end of my career, what can I really do? I mean, I thought about staying. What would it cost me to stay where I am, to age in place? And yeah, I couldn't afford it. I come from a line of people who live a while, so I'm aging slowly, and so I really think that I might unfortunately live to 90. So and I couldn't.
Some people would not use the word, unfortunately, but
Well, it's the kind of thing where most of the I'll use my parents I'll use my mother as an example. Her late 80s were not pleasant. So I don't want that. But who knows? But anyway, I knew I couldn't afford to stay in place. If I'm going to live that long, I can't afford to stay where I was. So, as luck would have it, I went on vacation with a friend of mine.
who could that be?
Could that be? And we traveled all over Africa. And the last stop on that tour, the Africa part of it anyway, was Cape Town. And I spent 2 days there, and I fell in love with it. And
It's a beautiful,
it's a
beautiful town.
place, and it's cheap. And I went back there this past January just to confirm my initial impressions, and I still loved it. And so now I'm going to retire there. So
Yes, and now the exchange rate for South Africa,
yeah,
it's about what?
it's 19
19?
rand to the dollar. 19 rand to the dollar.
So $1, 1 rand is 19 cents to us.
No, no, it's more like a .05. It's 19 rand. You get 19 rand for
For one American
one
dollar.
American dollar.
Exactly.
And the thing is, things are cheap there already. So it's food and a lot of basics are not expensive. So for example, like we might pay $4 or $5 for a dozen eggs. There, it's $2 American, right? So it's just cheaper, even without the exchange rate.
Right.
So that so what I find is that basically my Social Security in the end will end up covering all of my basics. That is my housing and my food, and the money I'll have in the bank is just rainy day fund.
But your story is not uncommon. I've been hearing of a lot of people who reach retirement age, and maybe because of this work downturn, they're taking a somewhat early retirement, and they are going to different places, a different state within the United States or a different country. It's been I've been hearing a lot of those stories, so it's not unusual.
I actually feel as if I was lucky in that I got to 64. I know some people who had to retire at 62 and take a really, that really takes a big bite out of your Social Security if you retire that early.
Yeah.
I like I said, I was basically a year away from getting full retirement. It's fine.
Well, I'm still in the workforce, even though I'm currently unemployed. So I know a lot of people are in my situation where we are looking for work. Now, fortunately, I'm in the time of my life and my career that as a contractor, I do save a little bit so I can, run a few months without, screaming. In fact, I posted on my LinkedIn post that that I was looking forward to a little time off, which I am, and I'm enjoying these past few weeks. Though after a few weeks, you start getting a little nervous when you see more people laid off, and the job's just not coming in.
And I will say, just some unsolicited advice. Um, it never pays to take any time off in your situation. I'll just relate a story. A friend of mine, this is years and years and years ago. Um, he got laid off and he decided, I'm going to take 6 months off, right?
No, that's a bad idea.
Yeah, that's a very bad idea because I think it took him almost 2 years to get a job. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, let me tell you my specific situation. I had two clients, two part-time clients. So I figured if one happens, I've still got the other one. Well, one in January, one of them had to say, "We got to let you go, but we can give you a few weeks to finish up." Great, perfect. So Friday was my last day, and I expected it, and I still had the other job. The next Monday, out of the blue, I got a phone call. I was laid off immediately. So Friday, the following Monday, and I was just like, wow, no jobs at all. So it was a little bit of a shock. And his being in this career as long as I have some advantages. Now this is kind of my life. What happened right after that? I logged out with my second job. Now I'm unemployed. 90 minutes later, a VP that I've worked with before texted me and asked me if I was available for a phone call. He called me up and he goes, "Hey, so what are you doing?" Well, being a little coy, I said, "Oh, not much." And he said he would love for me to be in his company, but he had to convince his CEO. So we talked about a strategy. This is not the first time he's hired me before. So we talked about that. I consider it a nibble. He needs to convince his company to hire me and to cough up some money when the money is tight.
Yeah.
So it's not a done deal, but it was incredibly uplifting. To be laid off and 90 minutes later get a phone call. "Hey, what you doing?" I did tell him eventually that I was laid off from both jobs. He knew the companies, and he goes, "Oh, are you the only one laid off?" And I said, "Oh no." And he goes, "These other guys are great too. I got to go see if I can find them."
Hey, that's the way to be.
That's the way to be. So that was a good thing, but I haven't heard anything since.
I mean, did he give you a time frame when you talked?
Well, he was hoping 2 to 3 months,
Okay.
but we shall see. I mean, like he said, it's not a done deal. So in the meantime, I can't count on it,
Right.
and so I'm sprucing up some things. Now, these past number of years, again, I have a long career. I haven't looked for a job. Jobs have looked for me, and I'm very fortunate, and I love that, about doing that. Not a lot of people can say that. So now I'm in the position where there's so many people out. I'm going to start working on my profiles. Um, Honestly, and this may sound a little crazy to some people, I think resumes are passe,
They can be, yeah.
and I don't think they are all that much of use anymore. I for my last job, I was being hired by somebody who knew me,
Right.
but he wanted his team to contact me, and the HR said, "Hey, do you have a resume?" I go, "No, look at my LinkedIn profile."
Yeah, I
I,
say,
th- I think that was a surprise to her.
yeah, I think in your case, because I mean, basically, it's networking for you, right?
Yes.
You don't need a resume because people know you, and even if they don't know you, can give them references and say, "Oh, talk to this guy, talk to that guy."
Oh, even better because
Yeah.
a lot of those people are giving me recommendations. They can look up.
Mm-hmm.
And on LinkedIn, one of the cool things is that I may be a second or third connection, which means there's people we know in between
Right.
that they can look up. And,
Right.
and so I find that much more robust than a simple resume.
Yeah. No, most resumes get screened by computers anyway, so you never
Yeah.
get to the hiring manager.
Yeah, they look
Which
at
brings me
keywords.
to a story, kind of along these lines, where I was trying to get into GE at one point in my career, and I sent a resume into the company that had an open job that suited me. So I sent the resume in there. Hadn't heard. But then I was talking to a friend of mine. He says, "Oh, I know somebody who works there. Somebody we had worked previously with." And so I sent my resume to that person. I had the job within a week. And when I was on the job, I said to the hiring manager, I said, "Had you seen my resume in the GE database or whatever?" He said, "Nope." Never got to him. Never got to him.
Of course not.
Yeah.
So that bypassing that layer is a great thing if you can do it. So yeah, I thought I was being arrogant when I told him to look at my LinkedIn profile, but I thought it was more intuitive thing to say at this point, at that point, anyways. And
It's a show of confidence. They probably like that, actually.
over time, I realized, wow, that was really. If I had thought about it, I would have done the same thing. So it was. I think it's the right way to go. I'm at the point where I am now going to. One of my the people that laid me off, I worked with at 5 companies, and he's co-founded like 3 startups. Okay, and he's made me an offer. Said, hey, if you get a brochure, he didn't say resume. He said, if you got a brochure of yourself, something marketing that I can put on CEO desk, people that I know that are looking for people. And I thought, well, first of all, wow, thank you very much. That's an excellent offer for someone in your position. And then the more I thought about it, I go, I really like the idea.
As a freelancer, that sounds like a really good way to go because you're a business. You're not an employee. You're a business.
But I'm not so sure it's limited to freelancing.
I think with a regular job, they might. I don't know how effective that would be for a regular.
Well, yeah,
opening
you
kind
do
of
need
job.
to have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
But it makes me wonder, are resumes evolving into something else?
Not yet, but I think eventually
We're on
they
the
will.
verge.
They're on the verge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still have to have that paper, but like I said, for you as an independent contractor, I do believe you're a business. You're selling yourself as a
selling
business.
myself. Yeah.
You're not an employee. You're not looking for a job. You're trying to sell yourself to clients. It's very different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like an attorney.
Yep. Exactly. Like an attorney.
So getting back to your point, it's not that I stopped looking for work. It's just that I simply said, well, I know it's going to take a little while. I'm going to enjoy this time. So
Got a trip planned?
yeah. Now the cool thing I did was when somebody lays you off,
Yeah.
okay, they feel probably worse than you do.
Maybe.
You feel more scared,
Yeah.
but they feel bad doing it.
Yeah.
And so with this guy, that when he called me up, he had to lay me off immediately. He was, he you could see it in his eyes. He was not happy.
And these are friends of yours. So
These are
it's different.
acquaintances, colleagues.
Yeah.
So the first thing I said was, "Gee, Alan, is this a bad time to ask for more hours or a raise?" He just started cracking up. And so it kind of lightened the situation. It's just like, in a way, the subtext was, I know you don't want to do this.
Right.
I'm not happy about it either. But I'm not going to make you feel worse. And that helped me too emotionally because it's just like, okay, we've got a problem. Instead of being emotional about it, we got to be practical about it.
And so, as I'm thinking about it, so in the future, what you need, what the lesson learned is you need to have more than 2 clients.
Well, I'm thinking about retirement eventually. I've had three. Okay, I've had 3 clients before,
I know.
and honestly, I can't. When you go between too many of them and they want too much, it's a little tough keeping them separate. I like being focused. I'm a little more sedate than I used to be. I used to be very active. So at this time, 2 clients is enough. And this was unexpected. But I did do 2 clients, both in network security, both startups. So I need to diversify a little bit more. However, I find contracting with corporations more problematic.
Yes.
And I prefer not to.
Yeah, they have a lot of rules around hiring contractors, and you have to go through a third party and all that.
Yeah, and they really try to cut your rate, and they jostle you around. And with startups, it's a lot more. It's fascinating, Personally, I find that a challenge because they present a problem without telling me what to do.
Now, in your with the startups, did you ever consider like partnering in, becoming a partner or something like that, and trying to work that way as opposed to just being a contractor?
Usually, at the time they need me as a writer, okay, they're already well established because the writing part comes in later.
Yeah. Not that it should, but that's the way it tends to work out.
I've actually pushed that point a couple of times, to come in earlier
Right.
and to set the stage and do some things.
Yeah.
But usually running on a shoestring budget. That's the biggest problem. I don't think they're opposed to bringing me in earlier, not to write the documentation, but to structure it.
Right.
And again, the shoestring budget thing really, it was really interesting.
Well, the thing is, they're probably spending tons of money on the user interface, aren't they?
I don't think as much as they should have. I mean, the technology of doing this, what they would, I can't. It's still, I'm still under an NDA, so I can't talk too much about it. It's, but the technology that they were doing was incredibly interesting, and they really need to make that technology work.
Okay, before they
could get, they did have the user face kind of planned around it.
Mm-hmm.
But I can say since they do have a public website that it's based on a graphing language.
Okay.
And so there was a lot of interesting things in there. And when they pulled me in, they didn't really have any customers, so I was in that early. And so we modified the user interface as we got people to look at it.
Okay.
And the documentation evolved too. One of the cool things about this startup was that the first thing we needed to do was to tell people, I wrote a series of articles called tours that just took them through the user interface so they could find things easily and get familiar with what we've already had out there. Later on, one of the problems that they had was not being able to say the differentiators. Why buy this product versus another?
Right.
And so the documentation started focusing on that. Now that we had this, after I wrote the tours, I wrote a script for a video, which we produced, which superseded the tours. So the documentation was growing. And I was in the middle of all this. And now it was going to take its next turn to do these features and capabilities type of thing. And I started, I ripped up the whole documentation in a way. And I was right in the middle of reinventing it when this whole thing came down. So I felt bad for them. It's kind of in a shambles.
Did they lose funding? Is that what happened?
They didn't get the business that they expected.
Okay.
Which is, my own opinion, and it may not be true, but here's how I feel, is that there's a lack of consumer confidence right now. And I think that's a part of the layoff. People are not investing in some of these products. They're holding off to see whatever's going to happen.
Though interestingly enough, I mean, what we get from the newspapers is that the consumer is still spending money like crazy. I mean, it's like part of the reason we're not in the recession. Part of the reason we're not in the recession that everybody predicted a while ago is because consumers are still spending money.
Yeah, but that's commercial consumers, private consumers. We're talking business
Oh,
consumers.
okay. Okay.
The startups not selling to, you know, Joe on the street here.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, they're selling to huge corporations.
But those huge corporations usually do depend on
No,
Joe's six pack, you know?
in the end,
In the end.
in the end. So where's the holdup? I don't understand these things. I'm not an accountant. I'm
Neither do I.
not a financial expert. But I know a lot of people right now are in this situation.
Yes.
So what do we do about it? Keep a stiff upper lip, keep positive. There was one post on LinkedIn that actually surprised me. It was a person I worked with before, and she had gone in and found this job that was a perfect fit for her, matched her skills. It was a decent company. She was thinking about it, and then she goes, but it wasn't interesting. And so she didn't apply.
It's nice to be in a position to be picky like that. And to some extent, when I got laid off, after we came back from Africa, I was kind of doing that. I was being very selective. I was only applying to jobs that looked interesting or things that would be a stretch for me. But the numbers aren't there because that you run into a problem with unemployment where they want you to apply to everything. Just send resumes to every company that you come across.
Well, yeah. If you can get unemployment.
yeah. If you can get unemployment, but that was the thing. I mean, New Hampshire unemployment. It's like you have to jump through all these hoops to get a really meager check. It's not like Massachusetts where they're giving you thousands of dollars a week. In New Hampshire, it's
I think you're exaggerating.
I know I am exaggerating. But it's different because I used to get Massachusetts unemployment, and now because I was working from home and I didn't really report to a particular state, I got New Hampshire unemployment. So I felt really stupid jumping through hoops for what wasn't really going to help. I mean, every little bit helps, but it was really a little bit.
It does.
Well,
since I was 1099, did I mention this earlier that being 1099, I don't qualify for unemployment?
Right, you did say that.
Okay.
Yes, we know that.
But I did look into it before I started applying for it, and they were, it's a good idea. They want all unemployed people to go to seminars to learn how to look for a job. Okay, I'm a professional.
Right.
I've been in this career a long time.
Exactly.
It's just like, that. I don't think that applies to everybody.
Yeah, exactly. You feel and the thing is, if you've been unemployed more than once, and I've been to those seminars already. It's not like they're telling me anything new.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the whole unemployment system needs to get fixed. I know there's a lot of fraud in the system, and that's what they're trying to protect against. But it does damage to the people who really need the help and need it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It can be streamlined.
Yeah.
So again, let's go back to the question of, so what do we do? Like I said, you gotta keep your optimism up. Like this one girl who did that. This one woman, I should say, who did that. You need to take a deep breath, relax, and hopefully things are not desperate for you.
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to I think. Well, again, professionals tend to have a little bit more money, and so even if they're not, what do I call them? People who save, I forget what they call those people who are always saving money. If you're not one of those people, you probably still have a little bit of money somewhere.
Yeah.
Or credit somewhere, or
that you can access.
yeah.
Yes.
So you can keep your head up. You can keep your head above water while you look
For a little while.
Yeah, for a little while. Yeah, and I think, and again, one of the things I was saying this to somebody last night. Actually, I said it wasn't a resolution per se, but it's just something that I've decided to start doing. Is not worry about anything anymore, because worrying serves no purpose. It doesn't add any value, and in the end, things tend to work out. So why worry? Right. So.
Well, in the famous words of the writer Douglas Adams, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, 2 words: don't panic.
Right.
So relax. There's lots of things you can do. I've been using my LinkedIn account. I actually went in and looked at all my experience, and I said, wow, this really needs an update here. In today's context, when I wrote it, what I did at Honeywell, working with computers. So I went through and I looked at all my work experience, and I updated that. I'm working on a new profile. I'm just making sure all the information that anybody needs to see about me is available. LinkedIn right now is my primary goal, but I will be contacting people if necessary. I can talk to recruiters, which is something I haven't done in many, many years. So I've got all these options in front of me, but I'm not jumping on all of them. I'm taking it one step at a time. I'm doing all these things. So the first thing was kind of introspective. What do I need to do to present myself better? So I've been working on those things
Mm-hmm.
instead of looking for a job.
Yeah, no, it's all part and parcel of looking for a job is to
Yes.
do that. So
Of course, immediately on LinkedIn, I said, hey, I'm available.
right.
So I got the word out there. So I've been doing that, talking to some friends,
Mm-hmm.
and just taking it slowly. And as time goes on, I'm taking more measures. Again, I will be doing that brochure. For
Mm-hmm.
me, for a contractor, that makes a lot of sense.
It does.
For anybody else, really, really take a look at your resume.
Yeah.
One of the things you need to do is what's important. People don't want to read a lot,
Right.
and make sure you get what the right keywords are. But the technologies that you've worked on is very important, and then of course your experience. Your front page of a resume, as in the profile of your LinkedIn profile, it says, "Here's what I can do for you."
It's a simple statement, and I think one of the effective resume formats that I used in the past was that first page is really just a summary of skills, tools, no job experience, just
Yeah.
skills, tools, and technologies.
Job experience is nothing
Right.
more than I have done it.
Right, and then the second page is work experience, and
Yeah.
I guess my resume it's 3 pages long, but I think just before I stopped bothering with it, I had cut it down to 2 and showing just the last 10 years of my career, maybe 15 years. Since I thought 15 years since I was in medical devices, 15 years is what I've been doing medical devices for 15 years. So everything before that is kind of meaningless ultimately to a hiring manager. So I cut it down to the last 15 years.
Yeah, the basics.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've been doing that summary too for some of the older stuff. I mean, who cares that I could work down to the chip level of a
Exactly.
computer board?
I mean, my big dilemma was that I was in management for quite a few years, and I thought I think that experience is valuable whether I want to be a manager or whether I want to be an individual contributor. Since even as an individual contributor, there's a lot of management kind of things that you have to do in terms of negotiations with people and working with different departments and planning and all that stuff. All of that's management stuff. Kind of, well, it's part of a management career, and it just means that I've honed that skill, so I can bring all that to bear, even on an individual contributor role. The problem is my management stuff goes back more than 15 years. So how do I summarize that and get that in front of somebody without taking too much space? So that was my big dilemma.
And what did you do?
What I ended up doing is I did a one-line summary of all my management jobs, and just in one section. I had a heading saying individual contributor stuff, and then I had a leadership section, and that has all my management stuff in it. So I just kind of summarized those two things in half a page each. That's what I ended up doing. So like I said, the first page was all the skills, tools, and knowledge, and then the second page was just kind of a summary of my work history. Last 15 years in the individual contributor section, and then the management stuff summarized in the leadership section with no dates. So
One of the things I believe in, and I think it's exactly what we both do, is that the first page of a resume or a profile or anything is what can I do for you? Okay, here's my skill set. Here's how I can help you out. Here's where I might be a fit. And then everything else, the experience, everything else proves that you can do this, evidence of you actually doing those things.
that's
But
exactly right.
if nobody's interested in the first part, they don't need to go to the second part. So
Exactly.
the first part's got to be the capturing. And now I know a lot of resume writers said the very first paragraph is the most important.
I've read somewhere that that's not true anymore.
Yeah, I had a hard time with it in the beginning too. When
Yeah.
I was told that when I was a lot younger, that I'm an energetic young person who wants to work. Oh, really? I think there's a lot of energetic young people who want to work.
And that's exactly right, because it started to become rote, and it became meaningless after a while, because
Yeah.
everybody said the same thing. right?
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
pass that by.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at hundreds or thousands of resumes, you don't want to. You want to get right to the point. So stay focused.
Right.
Show what you can do, and then back it up. I used to use my website, which is sadly out of date. Maybe I need to fix that too.
Yeah. I am actually thinking in terms of cutting my expenses, I need to probably delete that and save the money in having it up. So,
Well, yeah.
yeah, because it's not relevant anymore anyhow. So,
Well, some people are retired. Some people are not.
now one of the biggest things in retirement, and I might as well go into this a little bit, is all of that. I mean, I have subscriptions to things that are work related, technical subscriptions and tools like Adobe and all this other stuff, and it's like I don't need any of this crap anymore. So I could save myself hundreds of dollars a month just by getting rid of that. But it's quite a task to figure out. Yeah, because it's a lot. It's a lot.
I think we could do a whole podcast episode on how to unsubscribe from the things that you're paying money for.
Yeah, yeah, and it's insidious because in the old days they used to make it really hard to stop a subscription or anything. Now they don't make it hard, but you can't find it. So the only way to figure out that you're actually having a subscription to something is to go through all of your accounts and look for patterns. So okay, what's that charge? And I see that it's done every month, so that must be something. They have to figure out what that something is and then cancel it. So yeah,
they
it's
use
work.
Different names. I had to go through the legal terms of one company to find out that it was a third party that they did, and then you had to go to the third party to go in and figure out how to unsubscribe from there. I was really mad at them because I thought the product sucked, but
And I mean, at one point, I got to the point where I was trying to figure out how to unsubscribe to something, and I finally just went to, because I think I was charging through PayPal or something like that, and I just said, "Hey, I just block this. Don't pay them anymore," and that worked.
yeah, they get the message.
Yeah.
But I think we're getting off topic here. This is a whole new podcast.
Not really. It's part of the retirement deal.
Oh, okay. We're on
Yeah,
topic.
yeah.
We're good.
'Cause it's kind of like you spend money based on furthering your career and building your skills and blah 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 blah. And now you don't need to do any of that anymore, unless most of the time when you go into retirement you get into something completely different. And so I need to take the money that I've been spending on that stuff
And put it on.
and put it
yeah.
into something else if I want to do that. So because I'm thinking I might want to rekindle my photography. I had a strong interest in photography for a while, and then I just didn't have the time to pursue it the way I wanted to. But now I do, so I might actually end up doing that.
So your retirement hobbies and jobs make a little extra income.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean, the thing about it, I'm going to be on a retirement visa in Africa, which means I can't work there. I could probably work in the U.S. online, doing remote work, and I'll look into that. But I get it's really hard to find part-time remote work. What I'm finding.
Yeah.
So it'll probably end up being something different. I mean, I want to volunteer to teach in Africa, so I'll probably do that on a voluntary basis because I have English skills that I can write, and I think they need that there. So I'll probably do that kind of volunteer work at some point. And like I said, I'll probably get back into photography, and because I do have a photography website, and I like you said, it's out of date. I need to change the name of it because it's tied to my other business, and that's like, okay, no, let's start all over with that and start doing galleries and all that stuff. So I have sort of loose plans in my head going forward. I've only been retired for 3 months.
And it wasn't well planned. I mean, it just happened.
It just happened, right? So now I'm starting to think about all that stuff.
Actually, I'm about 5 years away from retirement. My original plan. We'll see what happens. And I've been having all those loose ideas too of projects I would like to do even now, but I just simply don't have the time to do them.
Right.
I like to get into more writing and do books and things like that. Both everything would be nonfiction based.
Oh, really? Okay. 'Cause I know one of the books you had talked about is more
Personal.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But not technical stuff.
Okay.
I need to take a break from that. And this is a general recommendation for everybody. This is a guideline that I kind of follow. We're going to cover this in another podcast, but I was asked how to be a technical writer, and it could bring up all sorts of thoughts in my head. And one of the things I think any good writer or any professional software developer, manager, anything, is that you do need to have other interests, because you never know where the next great idea comes from.
That's right.
The best inventions and discoveries were because people had an interest in one thing and in something different, and then saw something that if you were in one or the other, you wouldn't see by itself.
Well, this is what I mean. Oh, okay. There's a lot of stuff about how to, reading. Okay, so I'm a voracious reader. I read everything. I'm not a book reader per se, but I like to read, periodicals and magazines and articles, and I'm always reading. And so what happens is over time, you sort of have this accumulated base of crap in your head. And at some point, sometimes you see patterns. It's like, oh, wait a minute, this is connected to this and this is connected to that. And that's where all those ideas come from.
Yeah,
And I remember,
absolutely.
yeah, because I had a friend who I guess he was a borderline alcoholic, but one day he was kind of drunk and he was saying, I've never had an original idea in my life. And although that's probably true, I've had a lot of ideas. So it was kind of a surprising statement. It's like, whoa, I can't believe that you would say that, because ideas are flowing fast and furious in my head. So, but yeah,
maybe some people don't want to have original ideas.
Yeah, maybe it does require risk, right? If you have an idea and you want to pursue it, it is a risk.
Yeah, and that's been kind of a theme through a lot of our
Yeah.
podcasts is taking that risk, going out, and if it doesn't work, I can almost guarantee you that you'll learn something from it, and it'll be positive in the end.
That's right. Yeah, because even this idea of retiring to South Africa, you you wouldn't believe how people are reacting to that. I mean, the nicest one was, boy, you got balls. I said, yes, I do. Thank you very much.
I think I was the only one that supported it. Then again, we were there together. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it wasn't a big surprise to me. But anyways, that's getting into personal stuff. It's great. But we're both opportunistic. And, Archie saw something. It was an opportunity. And he goes, hey, I can do something with this.
That's right.
Off he goes.
That's right.
Even if it means moving halfway around the world. Now, we will continue our Bob and Archie podcast. Even when Archie moves, we're going to try to figure out exactly how to do that.
That's right.
I was thinking about doing something late in the afternoon here, our time, because it's 7 hours later in his time. You'll have to be up in the middle of the night, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, but I tend to. Okay, so where I'm going, it's a night kind of thing. So I can get back into being a night owl, which I used to be. Because I mean, since I've been working and living up here, I kind of lost that, because there's nothing to do at night. So I find myself going to bed early and getting up early. But now it's like in retirement, I will probably get back into my night owl thing.
Oh, damn, I was going to inconvenience you. Well, we'll have to think of something else.
So yeah, I don't, because I figure, if let's see, if you wanted to do something, 8 o'clock at night, that's not a problem for me. That's when I'm usually napping and getting ready to go out. So I think that'll be, and I'm the other thing about retirement, I've got like 6 or 7 computers in the house, and I really only need one. So the plan is to get a high-end laptop and do everything on that and get rid of all this other crap. So my big thing right now in terms of retirement is I'm trying to unburden myself of all the stuff that I've accumulated over the past few years.
Archie's having a big yard sale.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Call it an estate sale, because I'm not putting anything out on the lawn. Thank you very much. But yeah, it's already been an adventure, and it's only going to get better. So that's the way I see it.
Life is an adventure.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the way we take it. So,
right.
Getting back even to my, am I nervous with this layoff? Of course, I've already put the financial, straps in, tighten the belt,
right?
Just in case.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling that I'll be fine. I usually am, but
Right.
when you
plan for the
are
worst,
too cavalier, then bad things will happen.
That's right. Plan for the worst and hope for the best.
I have not canceled my trip to Alaska, which is the end of May.
Very good.
I'm still planning on that. It's all paid for anyway, so might as well go.
And I will say that when I got laid off in March, we had this Africa trip planned in June. And I was. I took that trip as well. So I mean, it turned out to be life changing. So I'm, never cancel plans. I know people who do that and never cancel your plans.
Yeah.
Don't let the bastards win. as
Just
they say.
just a little background here.
Yeah.
We had planned to go to Africa, oh, as a special 65th. So we've been planning it for a few years,
Right.
and so nothing was going to stop us from going. So we took 3 weeks, and we did Paris, Dubai, 4 African nations, and then stopped in Amsterdam. We had a great trip.
Yeah,
And
it was a wonderful
if
trip.
it sounds like I'm bragging, oh yes I am, because it was so good.
It was a great trip, and you should add the fact that the France visit was accidental. We had a long layover in France,
8 hour layover,
Yeah.
yes.
and we
so-
decided to get on the train.
And we jumped the airport, got on a train, and we had breakfast at a cafe right outside of Notre Dame.
Exactly. So that was pretty cool.
So enjoy your life.
Yeah.
You know, even with this layoff, I was laid off at the very end of January. I'd already planned a trip to visit my sister in Florida. And we didn't stop.
Right.
We just took the week. And I go, well, I don't have to worry about getting vacation time in.
You don't have to think about work either. So
Actually, it was very helpful for me to go down there. I hadn't seen my sister in quite a while anyways.
cool.
And so, my godson, my nieces, and now she's got grandchildren. So it was just great, and it took my mind off everything. We did a little history with St. Augustine. The fact is, I came back refreshed. Okay, yeah, I'm laid off. I'm not going to worry about it for this week. I'm going to enjoy everything that we did. Came back, and now I'm thinking of all these things that I needed to do. But I needed to step back from the shock. Even though I've been let go a number of times because of all different conditions, because that is the life of a contractor. So it's expected. Okay, it's still a shock. And I knew that.
Yes.
And I needed to step away from it. And I did. I'm coming back. I'm coming back strong.
Yeah, and I felt the same way when we took that trip because I had a lot of thoughts when that happened because it was a surprise and not a surprise based on the circumstances where I was. So I kind of figured I was going to try to milk it for another year, even though I knew that I was in a position where I was not qualified. Well, I guess I can give a little background. So I was brought in to work on a new product. That new product was canceled, right? So I was a writer on that product. I was going to be the sole writer. I was going to, architect it, build the whole documentation set. And so when that product went away, they didn't know what to do with me. So they ended up putting me into RA, regulatory affairs.
Good.
Which
Glad you said that.
Yes, and I know about regulatory affairs because it greatly affects the documentation in many, many ways.
Yeah, this is FDA regulatory
Right.
for people who don't do medical.
Yeah. Yes. And but being an RA consultant, no, I didn't have that level of knowledge at all. But because of the level I was brought in as a writer, I was like a super senior staff regulatory affairs, and I'm not qualified at that level. I mean, at best, I'd be a beginner RA person. So
You could have done it though.
but I didn't want to.
That's the real reason. Okay, let's not. Oh, I'm not qualified. That's an excuse, really.
Yeah, I mean, I had no interest whatsoever in doing that. So,
I think I've met regulatory people, and I'm not so sure they were qualified too. They thought they were, but
well, the thing is, the regulations are always changing. So what you thought you knew, you probably don't. So that's part of it. So anyway, so that's kind of the long story. That's how I ended up kind of getting laid off. So it was a surprise, but not a surprise. But like I said, I was going to try to milk it for at least another year. I thought I could get away with that.
yeah, so
But like I said, in the end, because it's going to take me, it'll almost be a year to get where I want to go in retirement. So that would have just delayed it another year, right? And so I think I'm better off doing it now than waiting another year or two to do it. So I'm happy. I'm actually happy that I'm getting this process started now, considering how much work is involved in getting it all done.
getting to Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been entrenched in your life for quite a while, so we have a lot of baggage when we.
Yeah, and I got a 3-bedroom house with an empty
It's gotta
attic,
be on the market.
and it's full of crap. So I have to get all that crap out of there, and yes, put the house on the market. That's kind of the next thing that's going. I also have a camper van for sale.
Go to www.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just like I said, it's kind of exciting. It's kind of fun because I'm, it's okay. So you work in a profession for a long time. Parts of your brain get shut off because it becomes rote after a while because it's okay, I've done this before, been there, done that. I'm going to do it again. This is completely different. So it's kind of fun for me, because I have to figure all this stuff out.
I haven't seen Archie this
Yeah.
excited in quite a long time, so I can vouch for what he's saying.
Well, it's just like a friend of ours who has kind of an illness, and when he first got it and he started getting into what he was getting into, I said to him, this illness of yours, the best thing that ever happened to you.
Yeah, because he's become a leader for these type of people.
Yeah. And I don't
This
think when
illness.
I first said that, I don't
We can
think
say we can say Parkinson's.
okay, yeah, Parkinson's. So I mean, when I first said that to him, I don't think he, I don't think he took it really well. But the last time I saw him, he said, you were right. Because yeah, he's energized now. He's become a spokesman for Parkinson. He's gone to Washington.
Yeah.
He's really, I mean, he's re-energized. Because work was starting to get, he was getting frustrated at the jobs he had, because he was, like us, very qualified and doing stuff that. But now he's kind of like he's doing his own thing. He's getting into poetry, which he's always wanted to do. He took a shot at becoming a stage actor. I guess that didn't work out, but he did take the shot.
Yeah.
So it just really, like I said, it brought him back to life, if you will.
Now, for all you younger people, don't ignore this next little segment here. But when you get towards the end of your career, it's boring, and we have to be very careful of it. That's why I brought up the woman who said, "Yeah, I'm a great fit for that job. I just don't want to do it anymore." And I get terribly bored. That's why I like startups. I like when they do a new technology or something or a slant on something that's already there. That's like, yeah, that's a good idea. I want to document it. I want to explain how to use this. Okay, and where I'm very advanced in my career, I want to have control over what I'm doing, and that's why people hire me because they want me to have control over what I'm doing and provide a good product to them. But we do get bored.
Yeah.
I was working in a couple of companies where I started updating the same document again and again, and honestly, that's where my worst mistakes come in because I'm so bored.
You're not really looking at the
I
document.
can't even look at it.
Yeah, you're not really looking. And this goes back to talking about technical writing in general. If you want to get back to the technical piece, in most technical writing departments, they have the writers editing their own work, and I have been when I cared. I made a lot of noise about that is really bad. Studies have shown that if you look at a document enough times, if you're the person writing it and you're looking at your brain will fill in. You've seen that test on in Facebook or whatever, where it shows all these gobbledygook letters, and you can still read it.
Yeah.
The brain just fills in what it knows what's there and it fills it in. Same thing happens when you're editing a document or when you're looking at a document. There could be errors all over that page, but your brain doesn't see it anymore.
No.
So it's really stupid to have writers edit their own work.
Yeah.
I can say that now because I'm not in that business anymore.
I'm in that business. Well, kind of. I hope to get into that business again. And I can say that I can say it too, because I've actually made copy and paste, and I would find 2 or 3 sentences are exactly the same because I couldn't see them anymore. I needed to walk away, take a break, look at it the next day,
and of course,
clear my mind.
In most companies, you don't get the time to do that, right? Because that is the right thing to do. You write it, you put it away for maybe 2 days, and then come back to it, and then all the errors will pop, just jump right out at you.
I do a lot of yard work, unusual yard work, I should say, and that helps me to clear my mind. For some people, it's going out running. For other people, it's another form of exercise. For me, it's just getting outside, breaking away, then coming back in, and I'm fine. Though I do have a funny story about that. I was contracting at a very small company, and it was in Concord, right next to the Paul Revere Trail.
Okay.
In the National Forest. I mean, we parked a car, and there was a stone wall, and right across the stone wall, you go over the stone wall, you're in this park. And I would go for a walk at lunchtime. it would be great. It was the one thing I needed to break away from what I was doing because it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
So one day, the engineer came with, said, "Hey, can I go for a walk with you?" I go, "Yeah, it'd be good for you. Break away. Regardless of what job you're doing, you do need to step away from it."
Right.
And we all got interested in the history. And then one day, all the engineers wanted to go with me on the walk, and we didn't. And because of what we were doing, it was the history. We kind of took an extended lunch. So we're all out in the woods where we couldn't be found. The engineering manager, the VP, came out of his office because there was a problem with a customer. He opens the door, looks into the room, and there's nobody there. So we all came back, and he had to talk to me. He goes, "You're a contractor. Can't tell you what to do." He goes, "But stop taking my engineers out for walks." I said, "It's good for them. I need somebody here." But anyways, like I said, later in our careers, we're doing all this, which makes it tougher when you're laid off because I don't want to do something stupid. I don't want to go take a job to get the money.
Right.
I, I don't want to be in that position.
I know exactly what you're saying because I mean, when I made the decision to retire, I found that most of the jobs I looked at were would be easy. I mean, I in fact even before that, a couple of years ago, I was on one contract when I was contracting, and yeah, the manager would look over at me, and I looked like I was half asleep, and she goes, Are you okay? You look bored." Of course, I'm not going to say I'm bored, but I was. I mean, I was. I mean, I've become very efficient at what you would call regular tasks involved with
Yes.
technical writing, and so it was really funny because the person that they brought me in as a contractor to help out a person who was like a tech writer too, which is like 2 or 3 levels below where I am, and that person was swamped. I mean, working weekends and nights trying to get this stuff done, and I looked at it and it's like, okay, and I had a lot of free time when I took it over. I mean, it was the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, I figured it out and I streamlined it and I did my thing.
Yes.
And then it was like, okay, what else do you want me to do? So it's like, and that's what's happening a lot in the last maybe 10 years or so. It's just a lot of stuff. I mean, I remember one company, I joined that company, and the first day I was there, we worked till midnight on a Friday to get this thing out the door. And I'm sitting there, and I was observing. I was there that night because I was observing the person who was doing it and what they were doing because I was going to take this task over. And while I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, I wouldn't do that, and I wouldn't do that, and I dream like that. And so once I took it over, we never worked overtime again. So that's what I do.
Yeah, you made it efficient.
Exactly. And so, and I think in everybody's career, you get to the point where you can do that. You can walk into any situation and you say, okay, well, that's wrong. I'll fix that. And boom, it's all done.
Yeah, I've done that a number of times.
Yeah. And so, yeah, you start to lose interest after a while unless you get something really challenging.
So that makes me wonder, does that push some people into early retirement?
Yes.
We have a prime example here.
Yes, it absolutely does. Because you don't look forward to it. It's like you see the job and it looks interesting, but it's like, do I really want to go through that again? No.
Now, a lot of people who are being laid off, I'm sure money's going to be the biggest issue. I mean, eventually it will be for me too. I have opportunities to do other things. So maybe but I'm at the time in my life where I have to think about these things. I do want to continue in this field a little while longer. If I can't, I will find something else to do. And I'll just have to make do with what I get. Or I'll just, I'll create my own opportunities like we've always done.
Yeah.
The thing is, a layoff isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No, it never is in the long run. In my mind, anyway.
It can be an opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
It can be nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it's really how much of a surprise it is. I mean, most of the time, I'm trying to think. I guess that startup where they locked it. Well, they didn't lock you out, but they locked the rest of us out of the company. that was a real surprise. Well, most of the time, you can see it coming.
Well, even then, when they locked everybody out, it was the lockout was a surprise, but the fact that they were doing badly was not a surprise.
That's true.
We saw that coming.
Yeah, that's true.
Even with my 2 clients, I knew one client was going to let me go, even before they did. It just, I saw what was happening with their the product and the business thing, that the opportunities they weren't getting, even though they were doing their best. It's a good company.
Right.
So that was not a surprise. The other one was up and coming fast, and they set their goals. They didn't meet their goals, and they're just too young to hold on, to get over that. They had to cut in order to survive.
Yeah.
But that was a surprise to me. So that's where the shock comes in.
Yeah. I mean, well, I think I may have told this story before. Another colleague of mine, his whole benchmark is like if he goes to a company meeting and there are people up there doing the rah-rah stuff. Oh, this is going to be a great quarter. We've got this stuff going, blah, blah. He usually gets his resume ready. Usually if they do a rah-rah speech, that means they're going to lay people off.
Yes. I've seen that so many times.
Yeah.
It's not usually in very small companies.
Yeah.
It's just because it's, everybody knows what's going on. But with corporations, I mean, I was working for a big corporation. We won't mention IBM's name, but I was working, through a contract agency with a big corporation. And they said, well, we didn't meet our business goals. And so, but don't worry, we're not going to lay off any employees. I got the key word.
Exactly.
Yeah, they laid off all us contractors.
It's been an interesting career. Let's put it that way. But I'm looking forward to my future.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That is so good to hear. It gives me hope, that I can do that soon enough. And I think for everybody out there, it's a marathon. It's a long run.
That's right.
Don't worry about the little things. We'll get over them. And sometimes a little bump in the road means you're going to take a left turn or a right turn, and maybe that road is a lot better for you.
And I think ultimately you just have to have a plan.
Yeah.
Even if it's something you come up with at the last minute, you have a plan, you work the plan, and it gives you focus. So just like you trying to, doing the brochure, getting your networking stuff lined up, and that's a plan. You actually have. It may not be written down, but it's a plan in your head. You know what you're doing. You're taking your steps.
Well, it's a funny thing because I've always thought about, I should do this. I should do this. I just never found the time to do it. It wasn't that important to me.
Right.
Well, I found the time, and it's become a bit more important.
Right.
So that's what I'm doing. So I think we can wrap this up by saying, look, stay positive. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying my best. Yeah. Do you feel nervous? Do you feel a little scared? That's normal. Don't worry about it.
That's right.
Just if you got a nice family support structure, you got other things, just keep on plugging away. Something will come up.
Right. And worrying, like I said before, worrying doesn't add any value to the process. So don't worry.
Yeah. And don't panic.
That's right.
All right, everyone. I think that's a wrap. Again, we want to thank Matt, our engineer, who is always a great guide and a good listener. And we want to thank Sterling-Lancaster Community TV for allowing us to use their studio and their equipment so we don't have to buy it. Take care. We'll talk to you again.